Feudal Japan is often portrayed through a lens of myth and stereotype, a world dominated by samurai honor, ninja, stealth, geisha, elegance, and shogunate authority. But understanding the reality of this era requires unpacking the layers of historical nuance, social hierarchy, and cultural practice that underpin these widely circulated images. The samurai, for instance, are frequently imagined as invincible warriors, endlessly clad in shining armor, wielding katanas with supernatural skill, living only for honor and battle. Yet historical records reveal a more complex figure, one whose daily life was as often administrative as martial, bound by intricate codes of loyalty, strategy, and land management, often functioning as bureaucrats, tax collectors, and enforcers of the daimyo's rule rather than relentless combatants, and whose personal conduct was shaped not only by Bushido ideals, which themselves evolved over centuries and were not a universal moral law, but also by social expectation, economic necessity, and local political conditions. Alongside these misconceptions, the ninja occupy another category of stereotype, imagined as shadowy assassins capable of disappearing into smoke, scaling walls silently, and possessing a supernatural arsenal of poisons, explosives, and acrobatics, when in reality, historical ninja were often covert agents, scouts, or spies employed in intelligence gathering, sabotage, or battlefield reconnaissance, utilizing practical skills such as disguise, infiltration, and mobility, but rarely functioning as the fantastical, cinematic assassins depicted in modern media. And their techniques, while sophisticated, were constrained by the tools, technology, and resources of their time, highlighting a broader tendency to exaggerate or romanticize martial prowess in popular imagination. The role of women in feudal Japan is similarly misunderstood, with geisha often reduced to icons of exotic beauty or sexualized entertainment, when historically they were trained artists, musicians, and performers whose expertise extended across poetry, dance, instrument mastery, and social etiquette, functioning as cultural intermediaries in elite social settings and often commanding significant influence through their artistry, networking skills, and patronage, with rigorous training and discipline shaping their craft and status. A reality far more nuanced than the reductive stereotypes of seduction or frivolity, and illustrating the broader dynamics of gender, artistry, and social mobility in Edo period urban centers, where women's roles in commerce, household management, and artistic production were multifaceted and central to the social fabric, contradicting simplified images perpetuated by popular culture. Another common stereotype is that of the strict, unyielding samurai lord or shogun, a figure often portrayed as all-powerful, merciless, and singularly devoted to warfare, when in fact, governance required negotiation, alliance building, and careful management of vassals, land, and tax revenue, with strategic patience, diplomacy, and the cultivation of loyalty often more essential than battlefield heroics, and where the performance of ritual, ceremony, and adherence to social hierarchies reinforced authority and maintained stability across complex feudal networks, revealing that power was exercised as much through bureaucracy, culture, and social expectation as through military might, challenging the notion that domination was solely a matter of physical force or martial excellence. The depiction of commoners, peasants, and merchants is equally affected by stereotype, frequently imagined as passive, oppressed, or homogeneous, when the reality was a dynamic and stratified society with peasants managing agricultural production, local economies, and survival strategies that required ingenuity, negotiation, and communal cooperation, while merchants navigated social restrictions, taxation, and the shifting demands of urbanization, trade, and commodity flow, often achieving wealth, influence, and social mobility despite legal limitations, and demonstrating the complex interplay of labor, commerce, and social structure that underpinned the Japanese feudal system, a web of interdependence, regulation, and adaptation far richer than the simplistic dichotomy of samurai and peasant, myths of rigid honor codes, sword-wielding omnipotence, and exoticized femininity also obscure the influence of cultural and religious practice. For Confucian ethics, Buddhist thought, Shinto beliefs, and local customs informed daily life, governance, and social expectation, shaping behavior in ways that were often invisible to the outside observer, yet critical to understanding conduct, loyalty, hierarchy, and community cohesion, and illustrating that what is often interpreted as stereotype has its roots in selective attention to dramatic or sensational elements of history, while ignoring the broader moral, economic, and social frameworks that structured life, a tension further exacerbated by early Western travelers' Edo period isolation policies, and later media interpretations that emphasized spectacle, exoticism, and martial prowess at the expense of accuracy. The evolution of these stereotypes is also tied to literature, theater, and later film, where samurai exploits were romanticized in kabuki, bunraku, and historical epics. Ninja mythologies were embellished in folklore, and geisha were stylized as symbols of aesthetic and sensual perfection, creating enduring cultural images that persist in modern media and gaming. Yet these portrayals reflect narrative needs, dramatic tension, and audience expectation rather than historical fidelity, and examining them reveals the ways in which selective memory, artistic interpretation, and social imagination combine to create compelling yet misleading cultural icons, underscoring the need for careful contextualization, critical reading of sources, and attention to the economic, political, and social realities that shaped real lives. Additionally, common imagery of the samurai and ninja as isolated loners, constantly engaged in duels or clandestine operations, overlooks the communal, interdependent nature of feudal society, where families, retainers, villages, guilds, and networks of loyalty-structured behavior provided security and facilitated the transmission of knowledge, skills, and resources, highlighting that martial, artistic, and administrative practices were embedded in collective frameworks rather than performed in isolation, and that the social world of feudal Japan was a matrix of obligations, cooperation, and mutual surveillance, where reputation, negotiation, and alliance often determined outcomes more than individual prowess. Challenging both romantic and sensationalist accounts, myths surrounding weapons, armor, and combat prowess also exaggerate skill and frequency of use, as most samurai spent large portions of their lives managing land, engaging in diplomacy, or performing administrative duties, while training and dueling were part of a broader set of obligations and cultural practices that balanced preparation for conflict with practical governance and survival, emphasizing that the idealized images of swordmasters, dueling prodigies, or invincible warriors simplify the complex realities of time, energy, resources, and social expectation, and reveal how narrative dramatization has shaped perception, often prioritizing spectacle over accuracy. The intertwining of legend, cultural expectation, and visual representation extends to clothing, ceremonial display, and urban aesthetics, where armor, robes, kimono, and ceremonial weaponry were codified to signal status, allegiance, and skill, yet often exaggerated in media to emphasize hierarchy, exoticism, or martial superiority, obscuring the practical, economic, and symbolic functions of attire, and overlooking the nuanced ways in which material culture conveyed information about identity, rank, and social obligation, all of which were critical for survival, recognition, and negotiation within a highly structured society. Finally, understanding these stereotypes requires attention to historical context, including periods of warfare, isolation, economic growth, urbanization, and cultural flourishing, which created conditions for selective emphasis in narratives, memory, and media, revealing that the compelling images of samurai, ninja, geisha, and daimyo authority are neither entirely false nor fully representative, but rather products of cultural storytelling, adaptation, and selective emphasis, and that a careful, nuanced exploration of these myths illuminates not only the lived realities of feudal Japan, but also the processes by which societies remember, dramatize, and reinterpret their own history, offering a richer, more accurate, and intellectually engaging perspective on a world too often flattened by stereotype, and encouraging critical reflection on how we perceive and transmit historical knowledge across time, media, and imagination. As the mourning in feudal Japan advanced, the social and cultural complexities of the era became increasingly evident, challenging the simplified narratives of samurai, ninja, geisha, and shogunate power. For while popular imagination often reduces these figures to single-dimensional archetypes, the reality reveals a network of obligations, hierarchies, and adaptive strategies that governed behavior, survival, and influence across a feudal landscape. Samurai, often idealized as relentless warriors devoted solely to combat and honor, were in fact engaged primarily in administration, estate management, and enforcement of the daimyo's edicts, performing duties ranging from collecting taxes, mediating disputes, supervising agricultural production, and maintaining infrastructure, while also training in martial arts as preparation for potential conflict, meaning that their identity was as much bureaucratic and social as it was martial. A nuanced existence that underscores the limitations of the cinematic or literary image of the solitary, sword-wielding hero, and demonstrates that martial skill, while highly valued, was part of a broader constellation of responsibilities and strategies aimed at preserving family, estate, and allegiance. The ninja, similarly, are often imagined in modern media as supernatural assassins with abilities far beyond human capability, vanishing into smoke, leaping across rooftops, and wielding poisoned shuriken. Yet historical evidence suggests they were primarily intelligence agents, scouts, and specialists in espionage, employing practical techniques in surveillance, infiltration, misdirection, and psychological operations, and operating within strict social, environmental, and technological constraints, emphasizing observation, adaptability, and strategic thinking rather than mythical feats, highlighting the contrast between enduring stereotypes and the reality of covert operations in a period when information, rather than raw combat, often determined outcomes. The representation of women, particularly geisha, is equally distorted by popular imagination, where their artistry, discipline, and cultural mediation are reduced to simplistic notions of beauty or seduction. While in truth, geisha underwent years of rigorous training in music, dance, poetry, calligraphy, and etiquette, serving as cultural intermediaries in elite social contexts, facilitating intellectual and artistic exchange, and often exercising subtle influence over patrons, demonstrating a level of expertise, professionalism, and social navigation that challenges reductive portrayals, and illustrating the broader roles of women in urban Edo period life, which encompassed commerce, artistic production, and household management, revealing a complex, socially embedded contribution far beyond the myths of frivolity or eroticism. Misconceptions of samurai and shogunate authority similarly obscure the mechanisms of governance. For shoguns and daimyo exercised power not through brute force alone, but through negotiation, strategic alliances, management of retainers, and bureaucratic oversight of taxation, law, and local administration, balancing ceremonial displays of authority with practical governance, and relying heavily on networks of loyalty, patronage, and social expectation to maintain stability, revealing that the performance of power in feudal Japan was deeply interwoven with social, cultural, and economic structures, and not merely a matter of martial dominance. Everyday life of peasants and merchants also defies simple stereotype. As peasants navigated agricultural production, community obligations, and survival strategies that required skill, cooperation, and negotiation, while merchants, though socially restricted by class, managed trade, finance, and urban economies, achieving influence and wealth despite legal and social constraints, demonstrating the intricate interdependence of labor, commerce, and governance in sustaining feudal society, and challenging popular narratives that portray these groups as passive or unchanging, highlighting instead the adaptability, ingenuity, and agency embedded within the lower strata of society. The role of religion, philosophy, and ritual further complicates simplistic understandings, as Confucian ethics, Buddhist practice, Shinto belief, and local customs shaped the moral, social, and practical behaviors of samurai, merchants, artisans, and peasants alike, influencing decisions about loyalty, obligation, household management, warfare, and negotiation, and embedding a set of normative and symbolic practices that governed conduct in ways often invisible to modern observers, yet critical for understanding social cohesion, hierarchy, and strategy, emphasizing that behavior was mediated by a combination of ethical, spiritual, and pragmatic considerations rather than simply personal temperament or cinematic archetype. Cultural transmission through literature, theater, and visual arts further shaped enduring stereotypes, as kabuki, bunraku, ukiyo, and historical novels dramatized samurai exploits, ninja exploits, and urban life for entertainment, moral instruction, or political messaging, exaggerating martial skill, heroism, and exoticism, while selectively representing social and gender dynamics, creating compelling but historically partial images, which persisted through Edo, Meiji, and modern media, influencing perceptions both domestically and abroad, and underscoring the interplay between art, memory, and selective historical emphasis in the creation of cultural stereotypes. Visual markers of identity, such as armor, clothing, weapons, and ceremonial regalia, also contributed to simplified interpretations, as samurai armor, kimono, and shogunate accoutrements communicated rank, affiliation, and expertise, but were often exaggerated in later artistic or cinematic portrayals to emphasize drama, hierarchy, or exoticism, overlooking the pragmatic, symbolic, and communicative functions these items performed, and obscuring the material culture that structured recognition, authority, and social interaction within feudal networks. Finally, understanding these stereotypes requires situating them within historical context, including periods of warfare, political consolidation, urbanization, economic expansion, and cultural flourishing, which selectively amplified certain images for narrative, performative, or strategic purposes, while neglecting everyday practices, obligations, and communal structures, revealing that samurai, ninja, geisha, peasants, and merchants were all embedded within interdependent systems of obligation, adaptation, and strategy that shaped behavior, survival, and social identity, and that the iconic imagery, while partially rooted in truth, represents only fragments of a richly textured social world and encourages contemporary audiences to approach historical narratives with nuance, attention to context, and critical awareness of the processes through which myth, memory, and media combine to create enduring stereotypes that both illuminate. As the afternoon deepened in feudal Japan, the examination of common stereotypes becomes even more critical to understanding the complex social fabric of the period. For the myths of invincible samurai, shadowy ninja, and enigmatic geisha obscure the intricate web of interdependent relationships, economic obligations, and cultural norms that defined everyday life. And while popular culture often emphasizes combat, secrecy, and exotic beauty, the historical reality reveals a society structured by layered hierarchies, rigorous social expectations, and strategic adaptation. Samurai, frequently imagined as solitary warriors, constantly engaged in battle, were in fact administrators, estate managers, and political agents, performing roles that required literacy, negotiation, and strategic oversight, balancing the ideals of Bushido with the pragmatic needs of governance, the collection of taxes, and the enforcement of social order, meaning their lives were governed as much by paperwork, ceremonial obligations, and bureaucratic skill as by martial practice, and illustrating that the cinematic or literary depictions of sword-wielding heroics represent only a small fraction of the samurai's lived experience, a fraction amplified for dramatic effect and enduring myth-making. The ninja, similarly, are often portrayed as supernatural assassins capable of invisibility and impossible acrobatics. Yet, historical accounts suggest they were primarily intelligence operatives, scouts, and saboteurs, employing practical techniques of disguise, infiltration, observation, and subterfuge within the constraints of the technology, social structure, and environment of the time, highlighting their role as information specialists rather than mystical killers, and emphasizing the contrast between enduring cinematic imagery and operational reality, while also underscoring the importance of knowledge, strategy, and resourcefulness in feudal conflict, as opposed to individual physical prowess alone. Women, particularly geisha, are commonly misconstrued as symbols of beauty or sexual allure, whereas, in reality, their rigorous training encompassed music, dance, poetry, calligraphy, and etiquette, preparing them to serve as cultural mediators, entertainers, and social negotiators in elite spaces. And their expertise afforded them subtle influence, networking capacity, and professional authority, a far more nuanced and socially integrated role than the simplified stereotype allows, demonstrating the broader contributions of women to urban culture, commerce, and artistic production during the Edo period, and challenging reductive assumptions about gender and agency. Myths surrounding shoguns and daimyo often present them as all-powerful, ruthless rulers, yet governance required diplomacy, alliance management, oversight of retainers, and careful administration of taxation, law, and military readiness, with ceremonial performance reinforcing authority. While effective leadership depended as much on strategic patience, social negotiation, and resource allocation as on battlefield action, illustrating that power in feudal Japan was exercised through a combination of social, cultural, and bureaucratic mechanisms rather than through force alone. The depiction of peasants and merchants as passive, impoverished, or uniform is similarly misleading, as peasants managed agricultural production, local economies, and communal obligations with ingenuity and cooperation, while merchants, despite social restrictions, navigated markets, credit, trade networks, and urban economies, often gaining wealth, influence, and social mobility, highlighting the complex interdependence of labor, commerce, and hierarchy within the feudal system, and showing that survival and prosperity required adaptability, skill, and strategic engagement at every social level, challenging the simplistic dichotomy of ruling warrior versus subjugated commoner. Religion, philosophy, and ritual further complicated daily life, as Confucian ethics, Shinto and Buddhist practices, and local custom shaped conduct, loyalty, obligation, and community behavior, embedding normative and symbolic practices into everyday actions that were invisible to external observers, yet crucial for maintaining order, social cohesion, and moral authority, emphasizing that behavior was mediated by both ethical frameworks and practical concerns, and that cultural, spiritual, and strategic dimensions were inseparable from daily survival and social interaction. The persistence of stereotypes is also a product of cultural transmission through literature, theater, visual art, and later media, including kabuki, bunraku, ukiyo-e, and historical novels, which emphasized martial heroics, exoticism, and dramatic tension, selecting and amplifying certain aspects of life while omitting others, and creating enduring images that continue to shape modern perceptions both in Japan and abroad, demonstrating the interplay between memory, artistic license, and narrative needs, informing collective imagination, while reminding historians and audiences alike of the necessity of critical analysis and contextual understanding. Even visual markers of status, such as armor, clothing, ceremonial regalia, and weapons have been subject to exaggeration, as artistic and cinematic representations often amplify hierarchy, martial prowess, and exotic appeal while underrepresenting practical and symbolic functions of material culture, such as signaling rank, allegiance, and social identity, regulating behavior, and facilitating negotiation, emphasizing that historical material culture was functional, communicative, and socially embedded, not merely decorative or cinematic. Finally, these enduring myths and stereotypes are best understood within the broader historical context of feudal Japan, including periods of military conflict, political consolidation, urban growth, economic fluctuation, and cultural flourishing, which selectively highlighted certain narratives while obscuring others, producing a blend of partial truth, artistic dramatization, and social memory, revealing that samurai, ninja, geisha, peasants, and merchants operated within interdependent systems of obligation, adaptation, and strategic engagement, and that iconic images, while compelling, reflect narrative priorities rather than comprehensive reality. And studying these myths critically provides insight into the social, cultural, and political dynamics of the period, encourages nuanced reflection on historical representation, and challenges audiences to distinguish between romanticized imagery and the intricate, complex realities of life in feudal Japan, offering a deeper understanding of how stereotypes form, persist, and shape our interpretation of history across time, culture, and media. As the dawn of a new day breaks over feudal Japan, the layered social, cultural, and political structures that define the era become increasingly apparent, inviting a closer examination of the myths and stereotypes surrounding its iconic figures, particularly the samurai, ninja, geisha, daimyo, and commoners. For while modern narratives often present these roles as singular and exaggerated, the historical reality reveals a complex web of obligations, responsibilities, and adaptive strategies that govern daily life and survival across the archipelago. The samurai, frequently envisioned as invincible warriors perpetually engaged in duels or battles, were in fact deeply embedded in bureaucratic and administrative duties, managing estates, supervising agricultural production, collecting taxes, mediating disputes among peasants, and maintaining infrastructure, with martial training serving primarily as preparation for potential conflict rather than a constant preoccupation. And their adherence to Bushido, while culturally significant, varied according to regional custom, period, and personal circumstance, demonstrating that honor, loyalty, and martial skill were intertwined with pragmatic governance and social negotiation, and that the archetype of the relentless sword-wielding hero simplifies a far more nuanced existence. Ninja, often imagined as supernatural assassins capable of vanishing into shadows, scaling walls effortlessly, and performing feats beyond human capability, were historically covert agents, spies, and scouts tasked with reconnaissance, sabotage, and intelligence gathering, using observation, disguise, infiltration, and tactical misdirection to fulfill their missions. And their skills, while impressive, were bounded by environmental, technological, and social constraints, emphasizing strategy, patience, and adaptability rather than fantasy, highlighting the disparity between enduring popular imagination and the grounded, operational reality of espionage in a feudal context. and illustrating that stealth and cunning were prized over spectacle. The portrayal of women, particularly geisha, is equally simplified in popular culture, often reduced to symbols of beauty or entertainment, whereas in actuality, geisha were highly trained artists and social facilitators, mastering music, dance, poetry, calligraphy, and etiquette, enabling them to operate as cultural intermediaries in elite spaces, influence patrons, and navigate intricate social hierarchies with skill and sophistication, revealing the rigorous discipline, artistry, and social acumen required to maintain status and reputation, and challenging reductive narratives that ignore women's broader contributions to cultural, economic, and social life in urban Edo period society. Daimyo and shoguns are frequently imagined as autocratic rulers whose power rested solely on military might. Yet historical evidence underscores the importance of diplomacy, alliance formation, vassal management, and strategic oversight in maintaining authority, balancing ceremonial display with practical governance, and negotiating with peers, subordinates, and the shogunate, demonstrating that effective leadership relied on a combination of social intelligence, economic oversight, and political skill, and that martial prowess was only one element of complex power dynamics that maintained stability across feudal domains. Peasants, too, are often mischaracterized as passive or oppressed, but they were integral to the functioning of the feudal economy, managing rice cultivation, irrigation, seasonal planting, and harvests, coordinating with neighbors for labor and resources, and employing practical knowledge of soil, water, and crop cycles to sustain communities. While merchants navigated social restrictions, trade regulations, and urban economic systems to accumulate wealth and influence, illustrating the intricate interdependence of labor, commerce, and governance within feudal society, and revealing the active agency and resilience of groups often marginalized in popular representations. The role of religion, philosophy, and ritual further informs these social structures, as Confucian ethics, Shinto practice, and Buddhist thought shaped moral conduct, loyalty, household management, and community obligations, embedding both spiritual and practical guidance into everyday life, influencing decisions regarding conflict, negotiation, and social hierarchy, and highlighting that behavior and societal expectation were mediated by ethical, cultural, and pragmatic considerations rather than personal temperament alone. Cultural representation through literature, kabuki, bunraku, and other art forms has also perpetuated and amplified stereotypes, selecting for dramatic, heroic, or exoticized aspects of life while omitting mundane, administrative, domestic, and agricultural realities, creating compelling but partial narratives that inform modern perception, while obscuring the routine, interdependent, and socially embedded nature of historical life, demonstrating how artistic license and audience expectation shape enduring myths, material culture, including armor, kimono weapons, and ceremonial regalia. Similarly, conveys information about rank, allegiance, and social identity, yet is often exaggerated in media for dramatic or exotic effect, ignoring the practical, communicative, and symbolic functions these items served in maintaining social order, signaling authority and facilitating negotiation, reinforcing that historical accuracy requires understanding both form and function within social and political systems. The selective amplification of combat, beauty, and secrecy in modern interpretations masks the broader patterns of strategy, governance, economic management, and social coordination that defines daily life. From managing estates and organizing labor to cultivating social networks, preserving food, and practicing etiquette, all of which demanded skill, foresight, and adaptability, demonstrating that survival and influence in feudal Japan were inseparable from the integration of practical competence, ethical guidance, and social awareness. Finally, understanding stereotypes in this context requires situating them within periods of warfare, political consolidation, urban expansion, economic fluctuation, and cultural flourishing, recognizing that the iconic imagery of samurai, ninja, geisha, and daimyo authority represents selective memory and narrative dramatization rather than comprehensive reality, and that critical engagement with these myths illuminates both the lived experiences of historical actors and the processes through which societies construct, transmit, and perpetuate enduring cultural narratives, encouraging reflection on the gap between perception and historical evidence, and offering a nuanced perspective that appreciates the complexity, interdependence, and adaptability of feudal Japan's social, political, and cultural landscape. As the sun climbed higher over the villages, towns, and castles of feudal Japan, the intricate realities behind the enduring stereotypes of the period reveal themselves in ever greater detail, exposing the gaps between popular imagination and historical practice, particularly regarding samurai, ninja, geisha, daimyo, and the everyday population. Samurai, often imagined as invincible warriors constantly wielding katanas in battle, spent the majority of their lives in administrative, bureaucratic, and managerial roles, overseeing estates, collecting taxes, mediating disputes among peasants, supervising agricultural production, and maintaining infrastructure, while martial training, swordsmanship, and participation in occasional battles were only part of their duties, emphasizing that the popular image of relentless sword-wielding combatants is a dramatic exaggeration of a far more complex role that required literacy, negotiation, strategic thinking, and social skill to ensure the stability and prosperity of their domains, and demonstrating that Bushido ideals, though culturally significant, were often aspirational rather than universally practiced. Ninja, meanwhile, are frequently represented as mystical assassins capable of disappearing at will, performing extraordinary feats and wielding lethal weapons with supernatural precision. Yet historical evidence depicts them as specialists in espionage, reconnaissance, sabotage, and intelligence gathering, relying on practical techniques of disguise, infiltration, misdirection, and observation to navigate social, environmental, and technological constraints, highlighting their role as pragmatic problem solvers rather than mythical figures, and revealing the centrality of strategy, patience, and ingenuity in covert operations, which contrasts sharply with cinematic depictions that emphasize spectacle over functional reality. Geisha, often reduced to sexualized icons of elegance, in fact underwent rigorous and lengthy training in music, dance, poetry, calligraphy, and etiquette, operating as cultural intermediaries in elite social spaces, mediating conversations, performing arts and rituals, influencing patrons through social skill and artistry, and cultivating a professional reputation grounded in expertise and discipline, which underscores the complexity and sophistication of women's roles in urban Edo period society, challenging reductive assumptions and highlighting their contributions to artistic, economic, and social networks that supported the continuity of culture and commerce. Daimyo and shoguns, likewise, are frequently depicted as ruthless, omnipotent figures who ruled solely through military might, whereas their historical authority depended on negotiation, alliance management, careful supervision of retainers, taxation, law enforcement, and ceremonial performance, with stability maintained as much through diplomacy, strategy, and social management as through armed conflict, emphasizing the integration of martial, administrative, and symbolic power in governance and illustrating that effective leadership required strategic foresight, social intelligence, and adaptability rather than simple martial dominance. Commoners, peasants, and merchants were far more active participants in the socio-economic landscape than popular stereotypes suggest. As peasants managed irrigation, crop rotation, and harvests, coordinated communal labor, and applied detailed knowledge of agriculture and environmental cycles to sustain communities, while merchants navigated complex trade networks, credit systems, taxation, and urban regulation, often achieving wealth, influence, and social mobility, revealing that survival, prosperity, and social standing depended on skill, adaptability, and negotiation at all levels of society, and challenging the simplistic binaries of ruling warrior versus passive commoner. Religion, philosophy, and ritual profoundly influenced social order, behavior, and daily life, as Confucian ethics, Shinto beliefs, and Buddhist practices guided conduct, loyalty, obligation, and household management, embedding normative and symbolic frameworks into mundane actions such as negotiation, labor, and ceremonial practice, demonstrating that ethical, spiritual, and pragmatic considerations were inseparable, and that historical behavior cannot be understood in isolation from these guiding principles. Cultural representations in kabuki, bunraku, and literature have reinforced selective stereotypes by emphasizing martial heroics, espionage, and exotic beauty, while neglecting administrative, domestic, and agricultural realities, creating narratives that are memorable and compelling yet partial, influencing both domestic and global perceptions of feudal Japan, and underscoring the interplay between selective memory, artistic license, and narrative priorities in shaping enduring myths. Material culture, including armor, swords, kimono, ceremonial robes, and architecture, also plays a role in perpetuating exaggerated images, as depictions often highlight ostentation, exoticism, or status signaling over functional and symbolic aspects, obscuring the practical, communicative, and socially embedded purposes of these objects, which were critical for maintaining hierarchy, signaling authority, facilitating negotiation, and ensuring survival in complex social networks. The emphasis on combat, secrecy, and aesthetic display in modern interpretations obscures the centrality of labor, governance, social management, and interdependence that defined feudal Japan, as survival and influence required careful planning, cooperation, foresight, and skill, whether in managing estates, organizing agricultural work, maintaining trade, or navigating hierarchical obligations, revealing that day-to-day life was guided as much by intelligence and strategy as by physical prowess or aesthetic skill. Situating stereotypes within historical context, including periods of warfare, political consolidation, urban growth, economic fluctuation, and cultural flourishing demonstrates that images of samurai, ninja, geisha, daimyo, and peasants are selectively amplified for dramatic, performative, or ideological purposes, obscuring the more mundane, interdependent, and socially embedded aspects of life, while also reflecting cultural memory, artistic choices, and narrative conventions that continue to shape modern perceptions. Critically examining these myths illuminates not only the lived experiences of historical actors, but also the processes through which societies construct, perpetuate, and adapt cultural narratives, encouraging reflection on the contrast between imagination and historical reality, and offering a richer, more nuanced understanding of how feudal Japan functioned socially, politically, and culturally as a complex, adaptive, and interconnected society where hierarchy, obligation, skill, and adaptability coexisted with ideals of honor, artistry, and strategy, revealing the depth and sophistication of life behind the enduring stereotypes that continue to fascinate contemporary audiences. As the afternoon sun bathed the villages and castles of feudal Japan in warm light, the layered social, cultural, and political realities underlying common stereotypes become increasingly apparent, highlighting the contrast between enduring myths and historical practice, particularly concerning samurai, ninja, geisha, daimyo, and commoners. Samurai, often depicted in popular culture as relentless warriors endlessly engaged in combat, in reality devoted much of their lives to administration, estate management, tax collection, dispute mediation, and agricultural oversight, with martial training and participation in battle being only part of their responsibilities, emphasizing that the archetype of the solitary, sword-wielding hero simplifies a multifaceted role that required literacy, negotiation, strategic foresight, and social skill to maintain domain stability, economic productivity, and political allegiance. While adherence to Bushido ideals was aspirational, situational, and varied by region, social rank, and historical period, revealing the discrepancy between cinematic myth and lived reality. Ninja, similarly, are commonly portrayed as supernatural assassins, capable of vanishing into shadows, performing acrobatic feats, and wielding lethal weapons with unerring precision. Yet, historical documentation shows they were primarily intelligence operatives, spies, and scouts tasked with reconnaissance, sabotage, and covert observation, employing disguise, infiltration, misdirection, and strategic planning rather than extraordinary physical feats, illustrating that their importance lay in information gathering, strategic acumen, and adaptability rather than fantastical martial prowess, and highlighting the distinction between operational reality and cultural imagination. Women, especially geisha, are often reduced in modern perception to mere symbols of beauty or entertainment, but historically, they were rigorously trained artists and social intermediaries, mastering music, dance, poetry, calligraphy, and etiquette, and performing critical roles in facilitating conversation, cultural exchange, and social diplomacy within elite spaces, exerting influence and navigating complex hierarchies through artistry, skill, and professional discipline, demonstrating a far richer, socially embedded function than the reductive stereotype allows, and underscoring women's contribution to urban culture, commerce, and social networks in Edo period society. Daimyo and shoguns, frequently imagined as ruthless, omnipotent rulers whose power rested entirely on military dominance, actually relied heavily on diplomacy, strategic alliances, management of retainers, oversight of taxation and law, and ceremonial performance to maintain authority and social stability, demonstrating that governance required social intelligence, strategic foresight, and adaptability in addition to martial capability, with the exercise of power as much symbolic and bureaucratic as it was physical, underscoring the complexity of leadership in a feudal system. Commoners, peasants, and merchants, often depicted simplistically as passive or impoverished, played active and essential roles in sustaining the feudal economy, with peasants managing irrigation, crop rotation, seasonal planting, and harvests while coordinating communal labor, and merchants navigating trade networks, taxation, and urban markets to build wealth and influence despite social restrictions, highlighting the interdependence of labor, commerce, and hierarchy, and demonstrating that adaptability, skill, and negotiation were central to daily life and survival. Religious, philosophical, and ritual practices, including Confucian ethics, Shintoism, and Buddhism, deeply informed social behavior, guiding loyalty, obligation, household management, and moral conduct, embedding ethical, spiritual, and practical frameworks into everyday actions, shaping interactions, reinforcing social cohesion, and influencing conflict, negotiation, and governance, revealing that ethical and spiritual guidance was inseparable from practical life, and that behavior cannot be understood outside these contexts. Cultural transmission through kabuki, bunraku, and literature selectively amplified dramatic, heroic, or exoticized aspects of life, while omitting routine, administrative, and domestic realities, creating memorable but partial narratives that persist in contemporary imagination, demonstrating how artistic license and selective memory shape enduring stereotypes, and emphasizing the need for critical engagement with these portrayals. Material culture, including armor, swords, ceremonial robes, kimono, and architecture, conveys social identity, rank, and allegiance, yet is often exaggerated in media for dramatic or exotic effect, obscuring practical and communicative functions, such as signaling authority, facilitating negotiation, and maintaining social cohesion, illustrating the importance of understanding historical objects within their functional and social context. The emphasis on combat, stealth, and aesthetic display in modern interpretations obscures the centrality of administration, labor management, commerce, social negotiation, and interdependence that defined daily life, revealing that survival and influence required foresight, cooperation, skill, and strategic planning. Whether managing estates, coordinating agricultural labor, preserving resources, or navigating hierarchical obligations, demonstrating the complexity of lived experience behind simplified images. situating stereotypes within historical context, including periods of war, political consolidation, urban growth, economic fluctuation, and cultural flourishing, demonstrates that iconic imagery of samurai, ninja, geisha, and peasants is selectively amplified for narrative and aesthetic purposes, obscuring mundane, socially embedded, and interdependent realities while reflecting cultural memory, artistic choice, and societal values, illustrating the processes through which myths are constructed, transmitted, and perpetuated. Critical examination of these enduring myths illuminates not only the lived experiences of historical actors, but also the mechanisms by which societies craft collective memory, revealing the complex interplay between imagination, narrative, and reality, and encouraging reflection on the distinction between perception and evidence, ultimately offering a nuanced, comprehensive understanding of feudal Japan as a society defined by hierarchy, obligation, skill, strategy, and adaptability, in which martial valor, artistry, diplomacy, and labor were all interwoven into a vibrant and resilient social fabric that contradicts the simplistic stereotypes often presented in popular culture. As a new day unfolds across the landscapes of feudal Japan, the task of deconstructing persistent stereotypes becomes increasingly essential to understanding the complex social, political, and cultural realities of the period, revealing the nuanced roles of samurai, ninja, geisha, daimyo, and commoners, whose lives were governed not only by martial skill or ceremonial display, but by intricate networks of obligation, hierarchy, and pragmatic adaptation. Samurai, commonly imagined as fearless warriors, endlessly engaged in combat, in reality balanced martial training with substantial administrative, bureaucratic, and managerial responsibilities, overseeing landholdings, coordinating agricultural production, collecting taxes, mediating disputes among peasants, and maintaining infrastructure, while martial skill was exercised strategically, often for deterrence or limited engagements rather than constant battle and adherence to Bushido ideals, though culturally celebrated, varied by region, family lineage, and period, illustrating that the popular archetype of the heroic, invincible swordsman oversimplifies a deeply multifaceted role requiring literacy, negotiation, diplomacy, and foresight to sustain economic productivity, political stability, and social cohesion. Ninja, frequently depicted as mystical assassins capable of supernatural feats such as disappearing at will, scaling walls effortlessly, and deploying extraordinary weaponry, were historically specialized operatives tasked with espionage, reconnaissance, sabotage, and intelligence gathering, relying on observation, disguise, infiltration, misdirection, and tactical patience to achieve objectives within environmental, technological, and social limitations, emphasizing the centrality of strategy, ingenuity, and careful planning over the cinematic fantasies of invincibility or supernatural skill, highlighting the distinction between enduring cultural myth and historical reality. Women, especially geisha, are commonly misrepresented in modern media as mere symbols of beauty or seduction. Yet, historically, they were rigorously trained artists, performers, and social facilitators, mastering music, dance, poetry, calligraphy, and etiquette, serving as cultural intermediaries in elite circles, influencing patrons, facilitating social and artistic exchange, and navigating complex social hierarchies with professionalism, skill, and disciplined artistry, demonstrating a nuanced social and economic agency that extends far beyond reductive stereotypes, and reflecting the broader roles of women in urban Edo period society, where artistic expertise, economic activity, and social influence intertwined. Daimyo and shoguns, often portrayed as merciless and omnipotent rulers in popular imagination, in reality exercised authority through diplomacy, strategic alliance management, oversight of retainers, legal and tax administration, and ceremonial performance, balancing martial capability with social intelligence, bureaucratic skill, and symbolic authority to maintain order, illustrating that governance in feudal Japan depended on a combination of strategic foresight, negotiation, resource management, and adaptive leadership rather than brute force alone. Peasants and merchants, frequently depicted as passive or oppressed, actively shaped the socioeconomic landscape, with peasants managing irrigation, crop rotation, harvests, and communal labor, applying detailed environmental and agricultural knowledge to sustain villages, while merchants, despite social constraints, negotiated trade, credit, taxation, and urban economic systems to achieve wealth and influence, revealing a network of interdependence, resourcefulness, and strategic engagement that underpinned survival, prosperity, and social mobility, contradicting oversimplified binaries of warrior versus commoner, religion, philosophy, and ritual-guided daily life, social behavior, and ethical conduct, with Confucian principles, Shinto practices, and Buddhist teachings providing frameworks for loyalty, duty, household management, and moral decision-making, embedding spiritual, ethical, and practical guidance into ordinary activities, and influencing conflict resolution, negotiation, and governance, underscoring the inseparability of belief and practice in shaping conduct, social expectation, and community cohesion, cultural representation through kabuki, bunraku, and historical literature has further amplified stereotypes by emphasizing dramatic, heroic, or exoticized elements, while omitting the everyday administrative, domestic, and economic realities, creating enduring narratives that are memorable yet partial, demonstrating the influence of selective storytelling, artistic license, and audience expectation on the perception of historical life. Material culture including samurai armor, swords, ceremonial robes, kimono, and architecture serves as both symbolic and practical markers of rank, identity, and social function. Yet, in modern media, is often exaggerated for aesthetic or dramatic effect, obscuring the functional, communicative, and socially embedded purposes that ensured survival, authority, and negotiation within feudal networks, highlighting the importance of interpreting objects in context rather than through a purely sensational lens. The emphasis on combat, secrecy, and visual splendor in contemporary portrayals obscures the centrality of administration, labor, social negotiation, and interdependence in everyday life, revealing that survival, influence, and prosperity depended on foresight, skill, cooperation, and strategic planning across domains, households, and communities, whether in managing estates, coordinating agricultural labor, preserving resources, or navigating hierarchical and economic obligations. situating these stereotypes within historical context, colluding periods of conflict, political consolidation, urban development, economic fluctuation, and cultural flourishing demonstrates that images of samurai, ninja, geisha, and peasants are selectively emphasized for narrative or aesthetic purposes, masking the mundane, interdependent, and socially embedded aspects of life while reflecting cultural memory, artistic interpretation, and societal priorities, emphasizing the need for careful, critical engagement with these enduring myths. By examining the ways in which martial valor, espionage, artistry, diplomacy, economic activity, and labor coexisted and intertwined, a clearer, more nuanced understanding of feudal Japan emerges, portraying a society defined by hierarchy, obligation, skill, strategy, and adaptability, where legendary figures were embedded in networks of interdependence, and where daily life was a careful balance of practical competence, ethical guidance, and social intelligence, challenging simplified stereotypes and offering a comprehensive perspective that honors the complexity, resilience, and sophistication of historical actors, and illuminating the processes through which myths are constructed, transmitted, and perpetuated across generations and media, inviting audiences to appreciate the distinction between perception and historical reality while engaging deeply with the rich tapestry of feudal Japan's social, political, and cultural landscape. As the sun reaches its zenith over the towns, villages, and castles of feudal Japan, a deeper exploration of stereotypes reveals the intricate realities underlying the iconic figures of the era: samurai, ninja, geisha, daimyo, and the common populace whose lives were shaped by complex social networks, cultural norms, and practical necessity rather than the simplified caricatures often presented in modern media. Samurai, typically depicted as unstoppable warriors forever engaged in combat, spent the majority of their lives on administrative, bureaucratic, and estate management tasks, overseeing agricultural production, mediating disputes, collecting taxes, and maintaining infrastructure, with martial training employed strategically and ceremonially rather than continuously, revealing that the popular image of the heroic swordsman is a dramatized simplification of a multifaceted role requiring literacy, diplomacy, negotiation, and foresight to sustain social order, economic stability, and political allegiance, while Bushido principles were aspirational ideals whose observance varied according to region, rank, and circumstance. Ninja, in contrast to cinematic portrayals as supernatural assassins capable of vanishing into shadows, performing impossible acrobatics, and wielding extraordinary weaponry, functioned primarily as intelligence agents, scouts, and specialists in espionage and reconnaissance, employing disguise, stealth, infiltration, observation, and tactical planning within environmental, technological, and social constraints, emphasizing strategic problem-solving, patience, and ingenuity rather than fantastical skill, highlighting the disparity between myth and historical reality and demonstrating the practical demands of covert operations in a feudal society, where information often dictated success more than raw force. Geisha, often misrepresented as seductive entertainers, were in truth highly trained artists, musicians, dancers, and social facilitators, mastering poetry, calligraphy, and etiquette to navigate elite social spaces, mediate cultural and social interactions, and influence patrons with professionalism and artistry, reflecting a nuanced agency and sophisticated role within Edo period urban society, challenging reductive stereotypes and illustrating the broader contributions of women to cultural preservation, economic activity, and social cohesion. Daimyo and shoguns, frequently imagined as omnipotent rulers, relying solely on military power, in practice governed through diplomacy, strategic alliances, supervision of retainers, legal oversight, tax collection, and ceremonial performance, balancing martial prowess with bureaucratic acumen and symbolic authority to maintain order and stability, demonstrating that leadership in feudal Japan required adaptability, intelligence, and social skill as much as military capability. Commoners, peasants, and merchants, often mischaracterized as passive or powerless, actively shaped the socio-economic framework through agricultural production, labor coordination, trade, taxation, and urban economic management, using practical knowledge, strategic thinking, and social networks to survive, prosper, and sometimes gain influence, revealing that daily life depended on a sophisticated interplay of skill, cooperation, and adaptability, and contradicting the binary of elite warriors versus subjugated commoners, often portrayed in popular culture. Religion, philosophy, and ritual, encompassing Confucian ethics, Shinto beliefs, and Buddhist practice, guided moral conduct, loyalty, household management, and community engagement, embedding ethical, spiritual, and practical principles into everyday life, influencing decisions about conflict, negotiation, governance, and personal conduct, and reinforcing social cohesion while shaping hierarchies and obligations, highlighting the inseparability of ethical and practical considerations in historical behavior, cultural representation through kabuki, bunraku, and historical literature, selectively amplified dramatic, heroic, or exoticized aspects of life while downplaying mundane, administrative, domestic, and agricultural realities, creating enduring myths that shaped domestic and international perceptions, illustrating the role of selective storytelling, audience expectation, and artistic license in perpetuating stereotypes and reinforcing popular imagination, while obscuring the practical and socially embedded structures of daily life. Material culture, including samurai armor, swords, ceremonial robes, kimono, and architecture served both functional and symbolic purposes, communicating rank, allegiance, and identity, yet is frequently exaggerated in media for aesthetic or dramatic effect, neglecting the communicative and practical functions that facilitated survival, negotiation, authority, and social cohesion, underscoring the importance of contextual understanding in evaluating historical artifacts. The modern focus on combat, stealth, and visual spectacle obscures the centrality of governance, labor coordination, economic management, social negotiation, and interdependence in daily life, revealing that influence, survival, and prosperity were grounded in foresight, skill, strategic planning, and cooperation, whether managing estates, coordinating labor, preserving resources, or navigating hierarchical obligations, highlighting the complexity and sophistication of the feudal system, situating stereotypes within the historical context of warfare, political consolidation, urbanization, economic fluctuation and cultural development demonstrates that the images of samurai, ninja, geisha, daimyo, and peasants are selectively emphasized for narrative and aesthetic purposes, masking routine, socially embedded, and interdependent realities, while reflecting cultural memory, artistic interpretation, and societal priorities. Examining these myths critically illuminates both the lived experiences of historical actors and the processes through which societies construct, transmit, and perpetuate cultural narratives, revealing a society defined by hierarchy, obligation, skill, strategy, and adaptability, in which martial valor, espionage, artistry, diplomacy, commerce, and labor coexisted, interdependent and intricately connected, challenging simplistic stereotypes, offering a nuanced understanding of the social, political, and cultural landscape of feudal Japan, and encouraging audiences to distinguish between perception and historical reality while appreciating the depth, resilience, and sophistication of this historical society. As the late afternoon sun casts long shadows over feudal Japan's towns, villages, and castle grounds, the need to critically examine the stereotypes of samurai, ninja, geisha, daimyo, and the common populace becomes increasingly clear, revealing the intricate social, political, and cultural realities that shaped daily life, survival, and influence, and contrasting sharply with simplified depictions in popular imagination and media. Samurai, often mythologized as relentless, invincible warriors perpetually engaged in battle, were in actuality administrators, estate managers, and political agents, responsible for supervising agricultural production, collecting taxes, mediating disputes among peasants, maintaining infrastructure, and ensuring loyalty among retainers, with martial training applied strategically for deterrence, limited combat, or ceremonial purposes, demonstrating that the archetype of the heroic swordsman dramatically simplifies a complex role requiring literacy, diplomacy, negotiation, foresight, and social acumen to maintain domain stability, economic productivity, and political allegiance, while adherence to Bushido ideals was context-dependent, aspirational, and variable across region and rank. Ninja, in contrast to cinematic portrayals as supernatural assassins, capable of vanishing at will and performing impossible acrobatic feats, were highly specialized agents engaged in reconnaissance, espionage, sabotage, and intelligence gathering, employing disguise, stealth, infiltration, observation, and tactical misdirection within technological, environmental, and social limitations, emphasizing strategy, ingenuity, patience, and adaptability rather than fantasy, highlighting the difference between operational reality and mythic image, and revealing the practical skills required to operate effectively within feudal networks of power and information. Geisha, frequently misrepresented as mere entertainers or symbols of eroticism, were historically highly trained artists, musicians, dancers, poets, and social mediators, mastering complex artistic and cultural practices, navigating elite social spaces with professionalism, influencing patrons, facilitating cultural exchange, and performing critical social functions, demonstrating sophisticated agency and discipline far beyond reductive stereotypes, and illustrating the broader roles of women in Edo period urban society. including contributions to cultural preservation, economic activity, and social cohesion. Daimyo and shoguns, often portrayed as omnipotent rulers wielding authority solely through military might, in fact exercised power through strategic alliances, bureaucratic oversight, supervision of retainers, tax administration, legal enforcement, and ceremonial performance, balancing martial capability with diplomacy, negotiation, and symbolic authority to maintain order and stability, revealing that effective governance relied on a combination of social intelligence, administrative skill, and adaptability rather than raw force alone. Commoners, peasants, and merchants, mischaracterized as passive or powerless in popular culture, played central roles in sustaining the feudal economy, managing irrigation, crop rotation, harvests, labor coordination, trade, taxation, and urban commerce, applying practical knowledge, negotiation, and strategic skill to survive, prosper, and sometimes attain influence, highlighting the interdependence of labor, commerce, and hierarchical systems, and demonstrating that day-to-day life required active participation, resilience, and adaptability. Religion, philosophy, and ritual encompassing Confucian ethics, Shinto beliefs, and Buddhist practices guided moral conduct, household management, loyalty, and social interaction, embedding ethical, spiritual, and pragmatic principles into ordinary life, shaping negotiation, conflict resolution, governance, and interpersonal behavior, emphasizing that belief systems and practical life were inseparable, and that social cohesion and hierarchy depended on both ethical guidance and pragmatic adaptation. Cultural representation through kabuki, bunraku, and literature selectively amplified dramatic, heroic, or exoticized aspects of life while omitting administrative, domestic, and agricultural realities, creating enduring myths that shaped domestic and international perception, illustrating how selective storytelling, audience expectations, and artistic license perpetuate stereotypes while masking the functional, interdependent structures of everyday life. Material culture, including armor, swords, ceremonial robes, kimono, and architecture, communicated rank, allegiance, and social identity, yet is frequently exaggerated in modern media for aesthetic or dramatic purposes, obscuring the practical and communicative functions that maintained hierarchy, authority, negotiation, and survival, emphasizing the importance of context in evaluating historical artifacts. The modern focus on combat, stealth, and visual spectacle often conceals the centrality of administration, labor coordination, economic management, social negotiation, and interdependence in maintaining influence, survival, and prosperity, revealing that foresight, skill, cooperation, and strategic planning were essential across domains. Households and communities, whether managing estates, coordinating agricultural work, preserving resources, or navigating hierarchical obligations, situating these enduring stereotypes within historical context, including periods of war, political consolidation, urban expansion, economic fluctuation, and cultural development, demonstrates that popular images of samurai, ninja, geisha, daimyo, and peasants are selectively amplified for narrative, aesthetic, or ideological purposes, masking mundane, socially embedded, and interdependent realities while reflecting cultural memory, artistic choice, and societal priorities. Critically analyzing these myths illuminates both the lived experiences of historical actors and the processes through which societies construct, transmit, and perpetuate cultural narratives, portraying feudal Japan as a society defined by hierarchy, obligation, skill, strategy, and adaptability, in which martial valor, espionage, artistry, diplomacy, commerce, and labor coexisted, intertwined, and supported one another, challenging oversimplified stereotypes, offering a nuanced and comprehensive understanding of the social, political, and cultural landscape, and encouraging audiences to discern the distinction between perception and historical reality while appreciating the depth, resilience, and sophistication of this historical society. As the dawn breaks over feudal Japan, illuminating the intricate networks of towns, villages, castles, and agricultural lands, the complexity of daily life and the reality behind enduring stereotypes becomes increasingly evident, revealing the nuanced roles of samurai, ninja, geisha, daimyo, and commoners, whose existence was governed by interdependent social, political, and economic structures rather than the oversimplified images perpetuated by modern media. Samurai, often imagined as tireless warriors, constantly engaged in swordplay and battle, spent much of their lives administering estates, supervising agricultural production, collecting taxes, mediating disputes among peasants, and maintaining infrastructure with martial training applied strategically for potential conflict, ceremonial duties, or deterrence, underscoring that the popular archetype of the heroic swordsman dramatically simplifies a multifaceted role that required literacy, diplomacy, negotiation, and foresight to maintain economic productivity, social cohesion, and political allegiance. While adherence to Bushido principles was aspirational and highly variable across region, rank, and circumstance, reflecting the complex ethical and practical considerations embedded within feudal governance, ninja, in contrast to the cinematic portrayal of supernatural assassins capable of vanishing and performing impossible acrobatic feats, operated primarily as intelligence agents, scouts, and specialists in espionage and reconnaissance, employing observation, disguise, infiltration, misdirection, and strategic planning to navigate environmental, social, and technological constraints, emphasizing skill, patience, and ingenuity over fantastical capabilities, highlighting the disparity between enduring myths and historical reality, and demonstrating the essential role of strategic intelligence in feudal conflicts where information often proved more decisive than force. Geisha, frequently misrepresented as symbols of beauty or entertainment, were rigorously trained in music, dance, poetry, calligraphy, and etiquette, enabling them to operate as cultural intermediaries, facilitate artistic and social exchange, influence patrons, and navigate complex hierarchies with professionalism and skill, illustrating a sophisticated social and economic agency that contradicts reductive stereotypes and underscores the vital contributions of women to urban Edo period society, including cultural preservation, economic participation, and social cohesion. Daimyo and shoguns, often depicted as ruthless, omnipotent rulers relying solely on military might, exercised power through diplomacy, alliance management, oversight of retainers, legal and tax administration, and ceremonial performance, balancing martial prowess with administrative acumen, negotiation, and symbolic authority, revealing that effective governance depended on a combination of strategic foresight, social intelligence, and bureaucratic skill rather than brute force alone, emphasizing the complex nature of leadership in the feudal hierarchy. Commoners, peasants, and merchants, often perceived as passive or powerless, were, in fact, active participants in sustaining the socio-economic framework, managing irrigation, crop rotation, harvests, labor coordination, trade, taxation, and urban commerce, applying practical knowledge, negotiation, and strategy to survive, prosper, and occasionally gain influence, revealing interdependence, adaptability, and resourcefulness as central elements of daily life, challenging the simplistic binary of elite warriors versus subjugated commoners. Religion, philosophy, and ritual, including Confucian ethics, Shinto practices, and Buddhist thought-shaped moral conduct, household management, loyalty, and social behavior, embedding ethical, spiritual, and practical frameworks into ordinary life, influencing governance, conflict resolution, negotiation, and interpersonal interactions, highlighting the inseparability of belief and practical action in maintaining social cohesion and hierarchy. Cultural representation through kabuki and historical literature amplified selective aspects of drama, heroism, and exoticism, while omitting administrative, domestic, and agricultural realities, creating enduring myths that shaped domestic and global perceptions, demonstrating how selective storytelling, artistic license, and audience expectation perpetuate stereotypes while obscuring the functional and socially embedded aspects of everyday life. Material culture, including samurai armor, swords, ceremonial robes, kimono, and architecture communicated rank, identity, and social status. Yet modern depictions frequently exaggerate these objects for aesthetic or dramatic effect, neglecting their practical, communicative, and socially embedded purposes that facilitated negotiation, authority, and survival, emphasizing the need for context when interpreting historical artifacts. The modern focus on combat, stealth, and visual splendor often obscures the centrality of administration, labor, social negotiation, and interdependence in daily life, revealing that foresight, skill, cooperation, and strategic planning were critical for influence, survival, and prosperity, whether in managing estates, coordinating agricultural labor, preserving resources, or navigating hierarchical obligations. Situating stereotypes within historical context, including periods of warfare, political consolidation, urban development, economic fluctuation, and cultural flourishing, demonstrates that the images of samurai, ninja, geisha, and peasants are selectively emphasized for narrative or aesthetic purposes, masking routine, socially embedded, and interdependent realities, while reflecting cultural memory, artistic interpretation, and societal priorities. Critically analyzing these myths illuminates both the lived experiences of historical actors and the processes by which societies construct, transmit, and perpetuate cultural narratives, portraying feudal Japan as a society defined by hierarchy, obligation, skill, strategy, and adaptability, where martial valor, espionage, artistry, diplomacy, commerce and labor coexisted and intertwined, challenging simplified stereotypes, offering a nuanced understanding of social, political, and cultural dynamics, and encouraging audiences to distinguish perception from historical reality while appreciating the depth, resilience, and sophistication of this historical society. As the sun climbs higher over feudal Japan, casting its light across castle towns, villages, the real complexities of the era emerge, contrasting sharply with enduring stereotypes of samurai, ninja, geisha, daimyo, and commoners, whose lives were governed by layered social hierarchies, practical obligations, and cultural norms, rather than the simplistic images often perpetuated in modern media. Samurai, frequently depicted as tireless warriors, constantly wielding swords in epic battles, were primarily administrators, estate managers, and political agents, responsible for supervising agricultural production, mediating disputes among peasants, collecting taxes, and maintaining infrastructure, with martial training exercised strategically for deterrence, ceremonial purposes, or limited combat, highlighting that the popular heroic archetype simplifies a multifaceted role demanding literacy, diplomacy, negotiation, foresight, and social skill to sustain economic productivity, political stability, and social cohesion. While adherence to Bushido ideals varied according to region, rank, and circumstance, ninja, often imagined as mystical assassins with supernatural abilities to vanish, climb walls, or wield lethal weapons with unerring precision, were in reality specialized operatives engaged in espionage, reconnaissance, sabotage, and intelligence gathering, employing stealth, disguise, infiltration, observation, and tactical misdirection within environmental, technological, and social constraints, emphasizing strategic thinking, patience, and ingenuity over fantasy, underscoring the difference between popular myth and historical reality, and demonstrating the importance of information and strategic adaptation in feudal conflicts. Geisha, misrepresented in modern media as mere entertainers or objects of beauty, were highly trained professionals in music, dance, poetry, calligraphy, and etiquette, serving as cultural intermediaries in elite spaces, facilitating artistic and social exchange, influencing patrons, and navigating complex social hierarchies with skill and discipline, revealing significant social and economic agency that contradicts reductive stereotypes and underscores the contributions of women to urban Edo period culture, commerce, and social cohesion. Daimyo and shoguns, often portrayed as ruthless and omnipotent rulers relying solely on martial power, maintained authority through diplomacy, alliance management, oversight of retainers, legal and tax administration, and ceremonial performance, balancing military skill with bureaucratic acumen, negotiation, and symbolic authority, illustrating that effective governance depended on strategic foresight, social intelligence, and administrative skill, rather than brute force alone. Commoners, peasants, and merchants, frequently depicted as powerless or passive, were active participants in sustaining the socio-economic framework, managing irrigation, crop rotation, harvests, labor coordination, trade, taxation, and urban commerce, using practical knowledge, strategic skill, and negotiation to survive, prosper, and sometimes gain influence, highlighting interdependence and adaptability as central aspects of daily life, challenging the binary of elite warriors versus subjugated commoners. Religion, philosophy, and ritual including Confucian ethics, Shinto beliefs, and Buddhist practices shaped moral conduct, household management, loyalty, and social interaction, embedding ethical, spiritual, and practical frameworks into ordinary activities, influencing governance, negotiation, conflict resolution, and interpersonal behavior, demonstrating the inseparability of belief and practice in maintaining social cohesion and hierarchy. Cultural representation through kabuki, bunraku, and historical literature selectively amplified dramatic, heroic, or exoticized aspects of life while omitting administrative, domestic, and agricultural realities, creating enduring myths that continue to shape perception, illustrating the role of selective storytelling, audience expectation, and artistic license in perpetuating stereotypes while obscuring the practical, socially embedded structures of daily life. Material culture including samurai armor, swords, ceremonial robes, kimono, and architecture functioned both symbolically and practically, communicating rank, identity, and social status, yet is frequently exaggerated for aesthetic or dramatic effect in modern media, concealing the functional and communicative purposes that facilitated negotiation, authority, and survival, highlighting the importance of contextual understanding when interpreting historical artifacts. The focus on combat, stealth, and spectacle in popular imagination often conceals the essential roles of administration, labor management, social negotiation, and interdependence, revealing that influence, survival, and prosperity depended on foresight, skill, cooperation, and strategic planning, whether managing estates, coordinating agricultural labor, preserving resources, or navigating hierarchical obligations, situating stereotypes within historical context, including periods of warfare, political consolidation, urban development, economic fluctuation, and cultural flourishing, demonstrates that the images of samurai, ninja, geisha, and peasants are selectively emphasized for narrative or aesthetic purposes, masking routine, socially embedded, and interdependent realities, while reflecting cultural memory, artistic interpretation, and societal priorities. Critically analyzing these myths illuminates both the lived experiences of historical actors and the processes by which societies construct, transmit, and perpetuate cultural narratives, portraying feudal Japan as a society defined by hierarchy, obligation, skill, strategy, and adaptability, in which martial valor, espionage, artistry, diplomacy, commerce, and labor were intertwined, challenging oversimplified stereotypes, offering a nuanced understanding of social, political, and cultural dynamics, and encouraging audiences to distinguish perception from historical reality while appreciating the depth, resilience, and sophistication of this historical society. As the late afternoon sun bathes the villages, towns, and castles of feudal Japan in warm light, the complex social, cultural, and political realities of ninja, geisha, daimyo, and commoners become increasingly apparent, revealing the contrast between popular imagination and historical evidence, and highlighting the multifaceted roles, responsibilities, and skills required to navigate daily life within an interdependent society. Samurai, frequently portrayed in modern media as tireless warriors, endlessly wielding katanas in heroic combat, devoted the majority of their lives to administration, estate management, tax collection, dispute resolution, supervision of agricultural production, and infrastructure maintenance, with martial training applied strategically for deterrence, ceremonial purposes, or occasional battle, demonstrating that the archetype of the invincible swordsman oversimplifies a complex position. Diplomacy, negotiation, foresight, and social intelligence to maintain political allegiance, economic productivity, and social cohesion. While adherence to Bushido principles was aspirational, context-dependent, and varied across region, lineage, and rank, ninja often mythologized as supernatural assassins capable of disappearing into shadows, climbing walls effortlessly, and performing acrobatic feats, were historically intelligence agents, scouts, and specialists in espionage and reconnaissance, utilizing stealth, disguise, infiltration, observation, and tactical misdirection within environmental, technological, and social limitations, emphasizing strategic thinking, patience, and ingenuity over fantasy, highlighting the crucial role of information gathering and covert operations in maintaining feudal power dynamics, and contrasting starkly with cinematic depictions that prioritize spectacle over realism. Geisha, commonly reduced in contemporary imagination to symbols of beauty or entertainment, were in reality highly trained artists, musicians, dancers, poets, and social facilitators, mastering a broad range of cultural practices and performing as intermediaries in elite spaces, influencing patrons, mediating social interactions, and navigating complex hierarchies with skill and discipline, reflecting a sophisticated social and economic agency that defies reductive stereotypes and demonstrates the critical contributions of women to urban Edo period culture, commerce, and social cohesion. Daimyo and shoguns, often imagined as omnipotent rulers dependent solely on military power, maintained authority through diplomacy, strategic alliances, supervision of retainers, legal and tax administration, and ceremonial performance, balancing martial capability with bureaucratic skill, negotiation, and symbolic authority, revealing that leadership in feudal Japan relied equally on strategic foresight, social intelligence, and administrative competence, rather than brute force alone. Commoners, peasants, and merchants, frequently portrayed as passive or powerless, were active agents in sustaining the socio-economic framework, managing irrigation, crop rotation, harvests, labor coordination, trade, taxation, and urban commerce, employing practical knowledge, negotiation, and strategic skill to survive, prosper, and sometimes gain influence, illustrating interdependence, resilience, and adaptability as central aspects of daily life, and challenging the simplistic binary of elite warriors versus subjugated commoners. Religious, philosophical, and ritual practices, including Confucian ethics, Shinto beliefs, and Buddhist thought-shaped moral conduct, household management, loyalty, and social interaction, embedding ethical, spiritual, and practical frameworks into daily life, guiding negotiation, conflict resolution, governance, and interpersonal behavior, and reinforcing cohesion and hierarchy, highlighting the inseparability of belief and practice in maintaining order. Cultural representation through kabuki, bunraku, and literature amplified selective aspects of heroism, drama, and exoticism, while omitting administrative, domestic, and agricultural realities, creating enduring myths that shape perception, illustrating the impact of storytelling, artistic license, and audience expectation in perpetuating stereotypes while masking socially embedded structures. Material culture including samurai armor, swords, ceremonial robes, kimono, and architecture conveyed rank, identity, and allegiance. Yet, modern depictions often exaggerate these objects for aesthetic or dramatic purposes, neglecting the practical, communicative, and socially embedded functions essential for negotiation, authority, and survival, emphasizing the importance of contextual understanding in historical interpretation. The contemporary focus on combat secrecy and visual spectacle obscures the centrality of administration, labor management, social negotiation, and interdependence in daily life, revealing that influence, survival, and prosperity depended on foresight, skill, cooperation, and strategic planning across domains, households, and communities, whether managing estates, coordinating agricultural labor, preserving resources, or navigating hierarchical obligations. Situating these stereotypes within the broader historical context, including periods of war, political consolidation, urban expansion, economic fluctuation, and cultural development, demonstrates that the images of samurai, ninja, geisha, daimyo, and peasants are selectively amplified for narrative or aesthetic purposes, masking routine, socially embedded, and interdependent realities, while reflecting cultural memory, artistic interpretation, and societal priorities. Critically examining these myths illuminates both the lived experiences of historical actors and the processes through which societies construct, transmit, and perpetuate cultural narratives, portraying feudal Japan as a society defined by hierarchy, obligation, skill, strategy, and adaptability, where martial valor, espionage, artistry, diplomacy, commerce, and labor coexisted and were deeply interconnected, challenging simplified stereotypes, offering a nuanced and comprehensive understanding of social, political, and cultural dynamics, and encouraging audiences to distinguish perception from historical reality while appreciating the depth, sophistication, and resilience of this historical society. As the first light of morning illuminates the landscapes of feudal Japan, stretching across castle towns, villages, rice paddies, and winding rivers, a comprehensive understanding of the societal, political, and cultural structures behind common stereotypes becomes essential, revealing the intricate roles and responsibilities of samurai, ninja, geisha, daimyo, and commoners, whose daily lives were governed by complex interdependencies, obligations, and hierarchies rather than the simplified depictions prevalent in popular media. Samurai, often imagined as tireless, invincible warriors constantly engaged in combat, devoted most of their time to administrative duties, managing estates, supervising agricultural production, collecting taxes, mediating disputes among peasants, and maintaining infrastructure, with martial training and ceremonial duties serving strategic, deterrent, or sporadic combat purposes. highlighting that the heroic swordsman archetype dramatically oversimplifies a multifaceted role that demanded literacy, diplomacy, negotiation, foresight, and social intelligence to maintain political stability, economic productivity, and social cohesion, while adherence to Bushido ideals was aspirational, situational, and varied according to rank, lineage, and regional context. Ninja, frequently portrayed as mystical assassins with supernatural agility and the ability to vanish at will, were historically intelligence operatives, scouts, and specialists in espionage and reconnaissance, utilizing stealth, disguise, infiltration, observation, and tactical misdirection to navigate environmental, technological, and social constraints, emphasizing strategic thinking, patience, and ingenuity over fantasy, and underscoring the critical role of information gathering, espionage, and strategic adaptation in maintaining feudal power dynamics, in stark contrast to sensationalized cinematic portrayals. Geisha, often reduced to symbols of beauty or entertainment, were highly trained professionals in music, dance, poetry, calligraphy, and etiquette, performing as cultural intermediaries within elite spaces, facilitating social and artistic exchange, influencing patrons, and navigating complex hierarchies with professionalism, skill, and discipline, reflecting significant social and economic agency that defies reductive stereotypes and demonstrating the broader contributions of women to Edo period urban culture, commerce, and social cohesion. Daimyo and shoguns, frequently depicted as ruthless and omnipotent rulers, relying solely on military might, exercised power through diplomacy, alliance management, supervision of retainers, legal oversight, tax collection, and ceremonial performance, balancing martial capability with administrative acumen, negotiation, and symbolic authority, illustrating that effective governance depended on strategic foresight, social intelligence, and bureaucratic skill rather than brute force alone. Commoners, peasants, and merchants, often mischaracterized as powerless or passive, actively sustained the socio-economic framework by managing irrigation, crop rotation, harvests, labor coordination, trade, taxation, and urban commerce, employing practical knowledge, negotiation, and strategic skill to survive, prosper, and occasionally gain influence, highlighting interdependence, resilience, and adaptability as central features of daily life, challenging the simplistic binary of elite warriors versus subjugated commoners. Religious, philosophical, and ritual practices including Confucian ethics, Shinto beliefs, and Buddhist thought-shaped moral conduct, household management, loyalty, and social interaction, embedding ethical, spiritual, and practical frameworks into ordinary activities, guiding negotiation, conflict resolution, governance, and interpersonal behavior, emphasizing the inseparability of belief and practical action in maintaining social cohesion and hierarchy, cultural representation through kabuki, bunraku, and historical literature selectively amplified dramatic, heroic, or exoticized elements while omitting administrative, domestic, and agricultural realities, creating enduring myths that continue to shape perception, illustrating how selective storytelling, artistic license, and audience expectation perpetuate stereotypes while masking socially embedded structures. Material culture, including samurai armor, Swords, ceremonial robes, kimono, and architecture served both symbolic and practical purposes, communicating rank, identity, and allegiance. Yet modern depictions often exaggerate these objects for aesthetic or dramatic effect, obscuring the functional and communicative purposes that facilitated negotiation, authority, and survival, underscoring the importance of contextual understanding when interpreting historical artifacts. The modern emphasis on combat, stealth, and spectacle conceals the essential roles of administration, labor management, social negotiation, and interdependence in daily life, revealing that influence, survival, and prosperity relied on foresight, skill, cooperation, and strategic planning across domains, households, and communities, whether managing estates, coordinating agricultural labor, preserving resources, or navigating hierarchical obligations. Situating these stereotypes within historical context, including periods of war, political consolidation, urbanization, economic fluctuation, and cultural development, demonstrates that the images of samurai, ninja, geisha, and peasants are selectively amplified for narrative or aesthetic purposes, masking mundane, socially embedded, and interdependent realities, while reflecting cultural memory, artistic interpretation, and societal priorities. Critical analysis of these myths illuminates both the lived experiences of historical actors and the processes through which societies construct, transmit, and perpetuate cultural narratives, portraying feudal Japan as a society defined by hierarchy, obligation, skill, strategy, and adaptability, where martial valor, espionage, artistry, diplomacy, commerce, and labor were deeply intertwined, challenging oversimplified stereotypes, offering a nuanced and comprehensive understanding of social, political, and cultural dynamics, and encouraging audiences to distinguish perception from historical reality while appreciating the depth, resilience, and sophistication of this historical society. As the morning advances over the diverse landscapes of feudal Japan, from castle towns and bustling marketplaces to serene rice paddies and river valleys, the complex realities behind the enduring stereotypes of samurai, ninja, geisha, daimyo, and commoners come into focus, revealing a society structured by interdependent hierarchies, obligations, and practical adaptation rather than the simplified, dramatic portrayals common in contemporary media. Samurai, often mythologized as tireless, heroic warriors engaged in continuous combat, devoted substantial portions of their lives to estate management, administrative duties, oversight of agricultural production, collection of taxes, dispute mediation among peasants, and infrastructure maintenance, with martial training exercised strategically for ceremonial, deterrent, or occasional combat purposes, demonstrating that the archetype of the fearless swordsman oversimplifies a multifaceted role requiring literacy, diplomacy, negotiation, foresight, and social intelligence to sustain political allegiance, economic productivity, and social cohesion. While adherence to Bushido principles was aspirational, context-dependent, and variable according to rank, lineage, and region. Ninja, in contrast to cinematic portrayals as supernatural assassins capable of extraordinary feats, were specialized operatives engaged in reconnaissance, espionage, sabotage, and intelligence gathering, relying on stealth, disguise, infiltration, observation, and tactical misdirection to navigate environmental, technological, and social constraints, emphasizing strategic thinking, patience, and ingenuity rather than fantasy, highlighting the critical role of intelligence, covert operations, and strategic adaptation in the feudal power structure, and contrasting sharply with modern mythologized imagery. Geisha, often misrepresented as mere entertainers or symbols of eroticism, were highly trained professionals in music, dance, poetry, calligraphy, and etiquette, operating as cultural intermediaries within elite spaces, facilitating artistic and social exchange, influencing patrons, and navigating complex hierarchies with skill and discipline, reflecting significant social and economic agency, and demonstrating the broader contributions of women to Edo period urban culture, commerce, and social cohesion, challenging reductive stereotypes. Daimyo and shoguns, frequently depicted as omnipotent rulers relying solely on martial force, maintained authority through diplomacy, strategic alliances, supervision of retainers, legal and tax administration, and ceremonial performance, balancing military skill with bureaucratic acumen, negotiation, and symbolic authority, illustrating that effective governance depended as much on strategic foresight, social intelligence, and administrative skill as on combat capability. Commoners, peasants, and merchants, often portrayed as powerless, actively contributed to the socio-economic framework, managing irrigation, crop rotation, harvests, labor coordination, trade, taxation, and urban commerce, applying practical knowledge, negotiation, and strategic skill to survive, prosper, and occasionally influence outcomes, highlighting interdependence, resilience, and adaptability as central features of daily life and challenging the simplistic binary of elite warriors versus subjugated commoners, religious, philosophical, and ritual practices including Confucian ethics, Shinto beliefs, and Buddhist thought-shaped moral conduct, household management, loyalty, and social interaction, embedding ethical, spiritual, and practical frameworks into everyday activities, guiding negotiation, conflict resolution, governance, and interpersonal behavior, and reinforcing social cohesion and hierarchy. Cultural representation through kabuki, bunraku, and literature selectively amplified dramatic, heroic, or exoticized elements while omitting administrative, domestic, and agricultural realities, creating enduring myths that continue to influence perception, illustrating how selective storytelling, audience expectation, and artistic license perpetuate stereotypes while masking practical and socially embedded structures. Material culture, including samurai armor, swords, ceremonial robes, kimono, and architecture functioned both symbolically and practically, communicating rank, identity, and allegiance. Yet modern depictions often exaggerate these objects for aesthetic or dramatic effect, concealing functional and communicative purposes, emphasizing the importance of contextual understanding when interpreting historical artifacts. The modern focus on combat, stealth, and spectacle frequently obscures the centrality of administration, labor management, social negotiation, and interdependence, revealing that influence, survival, and prosperity depended on foresight, skill, cooperation, and strategic planning across households, domains, and communities, whether managing estates, coordinating agricultural labor, preserving resources, or navigating hierarchical obligations. Situating these stereotypes within historical context, including periods of warfare, political consolidation, urbanization, economic fluctuation, and cultural development, demonstrates that popular images of samurai, ninja, geisha, and peasants are selectively emphasized for narrative or aesthetic purposes, masking mundane, socially embedded, and interdependent realities while reflecting cultural memory, artistic interpretation, and societal priorities. Critical analysis of these myths illuminates both the lived experiences of historical actors and the processes through which societies construct, transmit, and perpetuate cultural narratives, portraying feudal Japan as a society defined by hierarchy, obligation, skill, strategy, and adaptability, where martial valor, espionage, artistry, diplomacy, commerce, and labor coexisted and intertwined, challenging oversimplified stereotypes, offering a nuanced and comprehensive understanding of social, political, and cultural dynamics, and encouraging audiences to distinguish perception from historical reality while appreciating the depth, resilience, and sophistication of this historical society. As the late afternoon sun bathes feudal Japan's villages, castle towns, rice paddies, and markets in golden light, the intricate social, cultural, and political realities behind persistent stereotypes of samurai, ninja, geisha, daimyo, and commoners become increasingly clear, revealing a society defined by interdependent hierarchies, obligations, and practical strategies rather than the simplified images popularized in modern media. Samurai, often mythologized as tireless, invincible warriors, engaged constantly in battle, spent most of their lives managing estates, administering governance, supervising agricultural production, mediating disputes among peasants, collecting taxes, and maintaining infrastructure, with martial training applied strategically for deterrence, ceremonial duties, or sporadic combat, demonstrating that the heroic swordsman archetype dramatically oversimplifies a multifaceted role demanding literacy, diplomacy, negotiation, foresight, and social intelligence to sustain political stability, economic productivity, and social cohesion, while adherence to Bushido principles was situational, aspirational, and variable according to rank, lineage, and region. Ninja, frequently portrayed as supernatural assassins capable of vanishing at will and performing impossible feats, were historically intelligence operatives, scouts, and specialists in espionage and reconnaissance, employing stealth, disguise, infiltration, observation, and tactical misdirection within environmental, technological, and social constraints, emphasizing strategy, patience, and ingenuity rather than fantasy, highlighting the critical importance of intelligence gathering and covert operations in feudal power dynamics, and contrasting sharply with sensationalized cinematic depictions. Geisha, often misrepresented as mere entertainers or symbols of beauty, were highly trained professionals in music, dance, poetry, calligraphy, and etiquette, acting as cultural intermediaries, facilitating social and artistic exchange, influencing patrons, and navigating complex hierarchies with discipline and skill, reflecting significant social and economic agency and demonstrating the broader contributions of women to Edo period urban culture, commerce, and social cohesion, challenging reductive stereotypes. Daimyo and shoguns, commonly imagined as omnipotent rulers dependent solely on martial force, maintained authority through diplomacy, alliance management, supervision of retainers, legal and tax administration, and ceremonial performance, balancing military ability with administrative skill, negotiation, and symbolic authority, illustrating that governance relied as much on social intelligence, bureaucratic competence, and strategic foresight as on combat prowess. Commoners, peasants, and merchants, often portrayed as passive or powerless, actively shaped the socio-economic framework, managing irrigation, crop rotation, harvests, labor coordination, trade, taxation, and urban commerce, applying practical knowledge, negotiation, and strategic skill to survive, prosper, and sometimes gain influence, revealing interdependence, resilience, and adaptability as essential elements of daily life, challenging the simplistic binary of elite warriors versus subjugated commoners. Religious, philosophical, and ritual practices including Confucian ethics, Shinto beliefs, and Buddhist teachings shaped moral conduct, household management, loyalty, and social interaction, embedding ethical, spiritual, and practical frameworks into everyday life, guiding negotiation, conflict resolution, governance, and interpersonal behavior, and reinforcing social cohesion and hierarchical order. Cultural representation through kabuki, bunraku, and literature selectively amplified dramatic, heroic, or exoticized aspects, while omitting administrative, domestic, and agricultural realities, creating enduring myths that continue to shape perception, illustrating the role of selective storytelling, artistic license, and audience expectation in perpetuating stereotypes while masking socially embedded structures. Material culture including samurai armor, swords, ceremonial robes, and architecture served both symbolic and practical purposes, communicating rank, identity, and allegiance. Yet, modern depictions often exaggerate these objects for aesthetic or dramatic effect, concealing functional and communicative purposes essential for negotiation, authority, and survival, emphasizing the importance of contextual understanding when interpreting historical artifacts. The modern emphasis on combat, stealth, and spectacle obscures the essential roles of administration, labor management, social negotiation, and interdependence, revealing that influence, survival, and prosperity relied on foresight, skill, cooperation, and strategic planning across households, domains, and communities, whether managing estates, coordinating agricultural labor, preserving resources, or navigating hierarchical obligations. Situating these stereotypes within the broader historical context, including periods of warfare, political consolidation, urban expansion, economic fluctuation, and cultural development, demonstrates that the images of samurai, ninja, geisha, and peasants are selectively amplified for narrative or aesthetic purposes, masking mundane, socially embedded, and interdependent realities while reflecting cultural memory, artistic interpretation, and societal priorities. Critical examination of these myths illuminates both the lived experiences of historical actors and the processes by which societies construct, transmit, and perpetuate cultural narratives, portraying feudal Japan as a society defined by hierarchy, obligation, skill, strategy, and adaptability, in which martial valor, espionage, artistry, diplomacy, commerce, and labor coexisted and intertwined, challenging oversimplified stereotypes, offering a nuanced and comprehensive understanding of social, political, and cultural dynamics, and encouraging audiences to distinguish perception from historical reality while appreciating the depth, resilience, and sophistication of this historical society.